Welcome to I guess we're recording that it says recording, but hey, Rob, it's nice to have you back on the show. It's been a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, been a couple of months. Thanks for having me on, man.
I'm
How you
so
been?
happy because you found your job finally. You're now a executive producer at Spotify.
Am I?
I don't know, are you?
I wish.
It seems all right, so a little bit of heads up. So recently I've been I always talk about Australia and I always mention good things, but when I mention like the history of Australia, Australians think I'm talking bad about them. I'm like, look, Australians are the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. They're honest as shit, but not like honest where it's like a brutal compliment where it's like, hey, you look like shit. No, it's more like they're honest in a sense of like they're going to say what they actually feel rather than just like tweet about it later. They're just honest about it. And I really appreciate that. But you guys banned Joe Rogan. What the hell are we talking about here?
I did not know that. Did we?
Australia banned
Fuck,
Joe
last time we
Rogan.
were talking. Fucking hell. Last time we were talking and it was we're banning Google. And now it's we're banning Joe Rogan. The fuck for? Why? Is it because of the COVID vaccine?
Yeah, but don't mention the exact drug or it's going to get us taken down. But I don't
Right.
know. Maybe that's fake info. I don't know what's real anymore. I'm more in tune with, I've been talking about a lot recently that we're probably in a simulation, like 100% possible that we're in a simulation. We have Vine stars that were like, when I was in middle school, we're like cool people. But then now
Yep.
they're like celebrities and they're all famous and they're boxing famous people and they're doing crazy things where I'm like, what, what like what's real anymore? Journalism is not even journalism anymore. Anybody can be a journalist. Honestly, your best bet for information is finding a site where some person doesn't even own the label to their own domain. It's just a random, like it says their email and then their Wix, because that
That's
person
it.
was probably going to give you 100% honest, brutal truths. And I don't know what it is. When I see I think we're all attracted to the news kind of like desk and then like the background that says like the news station. Then in the corner in a little square box, it has the news number. Then a dude's in a suit or a woman, whoever you want to, or non-disclosed gender, and they have their hands crossed and they're like, "Hi, you're listening to the news at night. Welcome to the news at night. Would you like to hear some news at night?" I'm like, you said your name 3 times, but sure. And then they just go off on this tirade of like, here's, you want to see a 9-year-old kid get shot? I'm like, I don't. It's breakfast time here.
Yeah. And that automatically says, hey, I'm the truth. I'm your source of truth. And anything that I say, you need to follow like dogma. It's scary shit, man. It
It,
is really fucking scary.
maybe we should just start our own news network.
That's what people are doing.
Yeah, out of
You
the
know,
basement of their house.
but like that's the truth of it though. Like I find like when like I will take things more seriously and believe it more when I see that it's not a recognized news company, when it's not CNN, when it's not BBC, when it's not like fucking Nine News, which is an Australian thing.
But
It's weird.
why doesn't that transfer over? Like you want, all right. So in certain jobs, for instance, on news, like when it means like I think now that's kind of translated to like you can get your news off TikTok, which is how a lot of kids are receiving it now. But like
Mhm.
there's like comedians that talked about being on radio shows that were owned by Disney and then owned by all these giant major corporations that were targeted for younger kids. It was supposed to aim for those younger
Yep.
kids. It's because it's that payoff. When you target a younger audience, if me and you made a kids show right now, that means when we're
Mhm.
in we're like 20 years from now, we would be like the most popular trending thing in the fucking world because of those kids that are now adults that only know this because this is all they watched. And that's kind of like what I'm seeing
Mhm.
now. There's older generations that still stick to Fox and CNN and all these giant major news corporations. And then there's the younger kids that are like, well, I follow King whatever on TikTok. And I'm like, who's that? And they're like, well, he actually gives you the real news. I'm like, it's TikTok. How much news are you getting in 15 seconds?
I know. 3 minutes, I'm giving you the world. Um, yeah, it's weird, but we've almost diversified where we get our news from now, which I think it's a good thing, right? We need more options. Why the fuck are we just sticking to one place?
More options.
Yeah,
What do you,
we
okay.
need. Well, actually, let me take that back. I don't think we need more options, but we need more perspectives.
I think we need less, but I think we need more people that aren't biased in the things that they say. Like, it's very, very strange
Yes.
how I'm seeing so much. I think, like, when we talk about the simulation, it's more like the movie Demolition Man than it's ever been before.
Yep.
And I think that's only on a
John
concept of like,
Spartan, you are now found.
yeah, but how many people are like telling you what to do? And I'm like, I'll let you fucking tell me what to do if you tell me my middle name. Just tell me my middle name. And then you have the full right to, I'll do whatever the hell you ask. I'll jump off a bridge. But nobody even, it's just like, and this is the weird thing is like, so this actually has to do with you. So you have basically, so it's very hard to get guests and it's hard to get new people for sure. But
Yep.
when I was spending this like basically month-long process of trying to get a couple of people. One in particular, I'm not going to call it any names, because I thought it was interesting what they research into, but I'm not like 100% invested in this person. And they
Hmm.
messaged back, they were like, yeah, I'll check out a couple episodes. And then like after a month of like this break where they had to handle whatever work they had to do, they messaged me and they said, sorry, after looking at one of your episodes, I do not feel like it would be respectable to the profession that I do. And I'm like, okay, well, what episode was it? And they said it was it was robbing the relapse. And I was like, oh fuck, that was Rob's episode. And I was like, well, what did I say that was like in particular that offended or might have made you change your idea of doing my show? And they said, well, you talked about Fabio. And I was like, all right, hang on a second. If we're mentioning Fabio, I did not even bring up the topic. That was Rob that said Fabio. And then she goes, well, then you said that a pigeon face fucked him. And I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, I got other like
I'm sorry
900
I
other
cost you the
ones.
guest.
Well, I was like, I got 900 other ones if you want to find a more like a one where I'm not joking around with my friends or something. And then they were like, yeah, I just it really turned me off about the episode. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm sorry if you don't want to check the other 900 in my catalog to be able to look. I mean, I got a good playlist to look through. It's not like they're just consistently talking about a bird that humped the shit out of a man's nose who is basically a god.
Yeah. No, but it showed you that God could bleed. Man, I'm really sorry I cost you the episode or the guest. But that's pretty sensitive. I think that's also a reflection of the times that we're in. We're
I mean,
all very sensitive.
like, to not be a hypocrite, I'm not going to say, well, then you're a bad person for just looking at one episode. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, you got to find your path. I mean, I think the best thing that we can do when it relates to the journalism thing we mentioned in the beginning, this is what kind of triggered all this like ranting on my end, is an aspect of like, we need more honest, we need more straightforward, we need more things that are not clouded up. And I think that's what people are really searching out for, is the authenticity to stuff. Because I mean, right now it's just me and you
Hmm.
talking. I can choose not to post this episode when we get done with it. I'm probably going to end up
Yep.
posting it. But this self-censorship, the afraid that like when I'm hear a podcast, I hear a bunch of things where it's like, that's why I like talking to some of my friends where people go, whoa, he said a lot of stuff that hurt my ears. I'm like, well, it's because they're not censoring themselves. They want to be themselves.
Yep.
And it's either you got to be 100% out of control where you're talking about the global elite. So then you're like going crazy, or you just be 100% honest with people and be like, hey, you're going to take me how I come. And I prefer that more. And that's what I really love about this is a long turnaround for Australia. Basically, I'm just like, it's a good thing for Australia. People want to know why China isn't invading Australia. It's because they're fucking afraid. I'd be afraid too, because they could just easily be like, hey, we'll fuck you up if you come over here. America's like, I want to say that, but I can't. And I don't really want to do this. And I love where I live. But at the same time, I'm like, no wonder we're getting fucking bullied.
That and like we set all the wildlife, all the funnel webs and snakes and spiders and kangaroos all guard the perimeter while we sleep.
But I think it's important to
Yeah.
have that sense of authenticity. And like when you can joke around, I think it just comes from a level of trying to find empathy when it comes to a factor of sensing out if a person means the things that they say, or are they saying it for comedic effect. Like I think to quote Dave Chappelle, he was on a recent news
Yep.
interview, which I haven't ever seen him on a news interview for, because he just hates doing those talk shows because it's so fake.
Yeah.
You show up, it's like if me and you were sitting in a room right now, you'd sit in front of me, and instead of being like how would you think I'd act to you if you were coming over my house and we were going to have a podcast? How do you think I would act, like greeting you and everything?
Right now, our relationship right now, I think we'd be pretty cool, man.
I'd high five you. I'd be like, "What's up, man? You want a beer? You want to hang out? You want some food? You want a
Yeah,
water?" I would talk like that. Well, when you go to a news
yeah,
station and these people don't know you and they just don't have any fucking personality or they're restricted to a guideline, this is how the conversation goes. You walk in, it's like, "It's nice to meet you, sir," and they shake your hand, and which is nice. It's a good professional thing to do. But they sit down and they go, "Well, we're going to be hold on, the lighting's a little bit messed up. Let me change, not like what you did with your lighting, but like they're like, let me put makeup on you, let me do all this other type of stuff to you." And it's like
yep,
you spend like an hour and a half getting ready for this thing. And then you sit down and you're like, well, I just feel like now I have to be a certain way. And then when the cameras start rolling, but to hear Dave Chappelle talk about it, where he's like talking about cancel culture and how he kind of like just stopped doing comedy and then came back to it and he doesn't really care. He talked about
yep,
how there's this story about a guy that's trying to trap a baboon. And when he traps a baboon, he sticks a piece of like a sugar cube out in front of a hole, and this baboon's in the hole and he sticks his arm out and tries because he wants the sugar cube. He grabs the sugar cube, but he doesn't understand when you get that type of salt or whatever that is in that sugar, it actually makes your hand puff up. So as he would try and retract his hand with the sugar cube back into the hole, his hand was too big to fit back in the hole. And the monkey doesn't want to drop the sugar cube. He wants the sugar cube. So he's
yeah,
refusing to let it go. So then the guy just grabs the monkey's hand, pulls him out, lets him like lick the sugar cube and everything like that. Then now the monkey's thirsty. Now the monkey's trying to find its way to a river. It finds the river, and then the man and the monkey can both drink from the river because the man was dying of thirst. And you start to see how, like, that is not scripted. That is not this type of thing where it's this whole thing. It's honest and it's thought provoking
yep.
and it's genuine. And that's what I think the world is kind of needs right now. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah. I don't think we challenge it enough. We don't challenge our set of thoughts. Like everyone's got a thought process. Like, oh, don't say that because you're gonna get cancelled. And like we kind of we make these comments not because we believe them, but because we know they're safe. You know what I mean?
But what's a safe topic? Anybody can twist your words around and make you say a certain thing.
Exactly. So if we talk like let's talk about the vaccine.
Oh, Jesus
Like
Christ. I don't even want to hit that topic.
exactly. That's what I mean. But like that would be because you would get censored if you ever put anything out.
It's just so hard because the guise of like misinformation, and I don't want, but honestly, you're not given a lot of trust in people to be able to decipher out information for themselves. Like if you base me off of one episode, your episode in particular, like this person did, then you're not going to see like the more serious side that you might like. But then I have
Yep.
episodes that are more serious, more thought provoking, more motivational, more, and I've looked through the whole
Mm-hmm.
podcast experience, and I think that's like that with any of them. There are episodes of yours I listen to where you're joking around with your brothers and you're having fun talking about movies and you're bringing up like really good points about a lot of shit. But then there's some
Mm.
episodes that I'm listening to of yours where you guys are more serious, you're more critical on the film, whether you hate it or you love it. It's mostly when you guys don't, one of you guys doesn't like a movie. I just hear you go, well, first of all, there was this issue with it, and it's 100% that. I'm like, that's fucking Rob. I know that for a fact. Every time he says 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but at the end of the day, we don't hate each other. I'm not writing you off because you didn't agree with my viewpoint.
Yeah, but if you never branch out to start and meet a new person or meet a new face, then you might limit your experience of what your life could be or what could be a potential doorway to what it could lead to. And like, there are
Yeah.
so many people that talk about, well, I just do a podcast with my friends or I do a podcast with my brothers. And I'm like, I get it, but it's just like how people shit on Adam Sandler for having the same comedians or the same people in all of his films. I'm like, he's got a template that works. You're not incentivizing
Yeah.
him to want to go meet or do other movies with other actors because of the fact is he doesn't know what they're going to be like. He doesn't know that chemistry. And you've just basically crippled everybody because now nobody wants to meet anybody new. We just want to be in our circles.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And we're in a pandemic and people want to be like in their safe zone.
Is that what's going on right now?
I think so.
Well, you
Shit.
guys
We've
are a little
only
bit more
got
ramped up than we are.
yeah, right now. And it looks like we're going to be indoors for another like 3 months at least.
So are they really putting helicopters flying around you guys and keeping you guys in your home?
Yeah,
That's what
that's for real.
you're saying, like, yeah, like yeah, this is a fact. I'm like, that's so if I saw that happening where I live, I would take my ass and I pull it out of my pants and I just moon them as hard as I fucking can. What do they do if you're outside of your home, like grilling or some shit? Do they just scream at you through like a blowhorn?
That's fine. But if you're like, let's say they spot like a huge congregation, all these cars parked out front in the like, the driveway and stuff like that, and then they'll be like, well, let's check that place out because that looks like a party,
God
like an
damn it, I'm
illegal
a sheep.
gathering.
Our news source basically told us like it sounded like you guys, as soon as you walked out of your house to get like a smoke break or something like that, they just fucking rappelled down and hijacked you and threw you into a van and then took your organs out.
Nah, it's not that extreme. But on the flip side, I haven't seen my family in person for like 4 months.
Your
You know what I mean?
brothers?
Like yeah, I haven't seen them
They're not
in
allowed
four
over?
months. No.
Why?
Like so we've got like, like suburbs, right? So every suburb is basically locked down. We can't visit another suburb.
Is there a person outside with a like a gate that won't let you leave?
No, there's not. But if you get caught by the cops, it's five grand you
That's
got to
how it
pay.
was for us when it started. But I could leave my house and they would just pull me over and be like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to go work out." They're like, everything's closed down." I'm like, "I'm 100% aware of that. Do you have a work visa?" I said, "No." And they go, "Well, it's 5 grand. You know that, right?" I was like, "If you charge me 5 grand, I'm taking you to fucking court when all this opens back up. I don't have 5 grand.
Yeah.
You want my kidneys? Take a kidney."
Well, they've given police extra powers now. There's even like any person entering Australian, like not airspace, but like entering Australia, like migrating to Australia. The government has the right to now like look into their social media and everything, basically go into their digital passport, their life.
Well, you just got me a good idea. I got to visit Australia so I get some more Spotify listens. All right, guys, you're going to have to search through my back catalog to make sure I'm not a piece of shit.
Yeah, they'll just like scan it all. They'll have one guy, and then he'll be like, "Yeah, I'm actually a fan."
You know
And then
what?
he'll get to robbing the relapse, and then like be like, "Fuck, I hate this guy."
You know, you know what? I honestly, they should start patrolling the animals there too. If you see a koala bear start to enter a certain part of territory of Australia, you should be like, "Nope, you got to be inside your cave, little fella." It's like the thing doesn't understand what you're saying. Nope, we're gonna have to lock down every single animal. Wait a minute, it's
That's so
backwards.
weird.
All the people are on like in cages, and then all the animals are free.
Yeah, I know.
It's Planet of the Goddamn Apes.
Planet of the Bears. Shit, and I nearly like knocked a koala over the other day when I was driving.
How common are
It's lucky I
koalas in
swerved.
Australia?
Huh?
How common
How
are,
common?
yeah.
I have no idea. So I thought like koalas were in like a more sort of bushy area. You know what I mean? Like foresty sort of area. But nah, like there was one not 4 minutes like walking down the road at my place.
Does he
I
walk
was at
on
a train
four?
station.
Wait, does he walk on four
Yeah,
legs or does he walk on two?
4.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm about to say if I saw like a koala crossing a road, I pictured like walking on 2 legs, I just pictured a fucking like Build-A-Bear walking across the road in like a trench coat and shit. He's selling drugs.
It's like Ted. Like, nah, they're 4 legs. And they can be pretty vicious as well. There's this thing called drop bears, and they're like almost rabies infested koalas that are actually really aggressive. So if you walk through their territory, they'll drop down and they'll fucking attack you.
Oh my God. It's like when there was in the States, I think it was like 8 years ago, there was a giant drug deal that was going on. And then I guess the guy who was transporting all the drugs or something, he died. I think he was like attacked by a bear. And the bears ate all the cocaine, and there was a lot of cocaine. So they just had cocaine fueled bears running through the fucking mountains, and fucking like people are like, there's what like I don't understand what is like what's more scary, like fucking koala on meth or a fucking grizzly bear on cocaine. That's the scariest thing to me. I'm like, look, because I'm wondering, are there people in Australia that have koalas as pets?
No,
No.
no. I think they're a protected species.
Oh, okay, that's a little bit different then. Is there any ant
Yeah.
like do people have kangaroos? Because if you have that common of an animal, like what's stopping me right now from picking up a fucking deer and then just having a deer in my backyard? Well, deers are fast as shit and I'm lazy as shit. So it's very, very hard for me to be able to catch a deer unless I hit it with my car.
Can you imagine taking a deer out for like a jog?
No, because it'd be
Like
jumping and it'd
I'm
just
just
be tugging
walking the
you all over the
deer.
place. He'd be like that
Yeah.
grandma who's holding on to the giant dog leash and throws the ball and the dog fucking runs off and just drags her across the ground.
Yeah. Now we like kangaroos. No, kangaroos, man. Like they can move as well. I hit a kangaroo with my car,
Oh my God,
and it
what?
buck. Yeah. So I'm like, I was like, we were going for a holiday, and we were driving there, about 7 hours out of Sydney, and it's nighttime and everything. So kangaroos are actually attracted to your headlights.
So like deer.
So yeah. So I'm like, I'm tracking this thing jumping out of my peripheral vision, and then it starts darting, and I hit the brakes, and I brake. It felt like I like hit the brakes, and I was just like skidding, and I hit this thing. It bounced once, twice, three times, and then jumped and hopped off. It recovered from the smashing my car.
That's my biggest fear every morning when I'm going into work because I go to work really, really early in the morning and it's just pitch black dark. But we have so many trees and such large fields on my way to work. And I drive a shitty car. So like when I turn on the headlights look like my high beams would be normal headlights. So like if I
Oh
try and
shit!
roll my window down while I'm driving, my headlights will dim because it's so old. The battery's like we because okay, so cars now, for instance, when you charge your car's not going to do anything. It's actually probably going to hook up to Bluetooth, but it's going to charge your phone and everything. It's not even going to affect the battery. Back in the day, before cell phones were fucking invented, cars didn't plan on having to pack extra juice in the battery to be able to power your cell phone while you're driving. So if I'm driving and trying to plug my car charger in, it's not going to charge my phone correctly. It's going to be like, so if from like, if I'm in a new car and I try and charge my phone in my car, whatever drive would take me 5 minutes, like if I'm going to go to the grocery store or something, it would charge it probably up
Yep.
like 20% or something. This won't even charge it one. It'll be like, I physically can't fucking do everything. It's like when you look at older people and you ask them, hey, why don't you pat your head and then rub your stomach while at the same time chewing bubble gum? They would seizure out and die. But with like for us, we could do it quickly because we're fucking younger. It's like that's with the cars, for instance. That's a great example. Don't try it at home, kids, if you're listening, but it's a great example.
Why do I see this big plot to like, God forbid this ever happens, but to kill like the older generation? They're like, now put a piece of gum in your mouth, now pat your head and rub your stomach, and then like millions and millions of over 70s just like seize up and die at that very point.
I like how you chose that and not the movie idea of just a movie about bears all hopped up on cocaine and just fucking ravaging the world or a town. It's like 40 Days of Night or whatever that movie is with the vampires, except it's just grizzly bears filled with cocaine fueled rage just running into your house and tearing. They always keep going after the honey. It's like, I don't, well, stop fucking. Everyone's got it in their house too. Nobody ever uses it, but everyone's got it in their house. I have never met one person in my entire life that's like, I just put a little bit of honey in my coffee or I put a little bit of honey on my food. Then you'll get some guy that's listening that's saying, like, well, I put honey on my Cheerios. It says it on the fucking box. Honey Nut Cheerios.
Maybe he likes to double down on his honey.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. There's a lot of things I double down on. Like when I'm at the casino and they're like, sir, you're in debt by 10 grand. I'm like, double down. They're like, what do you mean double? You don't have, you're in the hole. You owe us money. I will put my arm on the table. Literally, I'm going to physically put my arm up for it. If I lose this, then you get to chop my arm off. And they go, okay, well, you lost again. And I'm like, what happened? I wasn't even looking. Redo it.
What appendage could you lose?
Oh, Jesus. Over a gambling thing?
Yeah.
Never. I would never gamble. I worked at a casino and I see how it ends.
But like, let's say,
Give me like a medical
you
disease
needed.
where I have to lose something.
Yeah, let's just say that. That's probably the cleanest way to put it.
What's the name of the disease?
Um, Metachlorobio clams.
Wait a minute. Let's take that word apart. Matachlorobioclams. So mata,
Yeah.
where did you get mata from?
Well, my middle name's actually Matt
Okay, so then
or
where'd you get
Matthew,
chloro from? Like
like
chloroform?
chlorophyll. Yeah.
Chlorophyll? What about I'm guessing you got bio from the pandemic talk we had earlier. And then
Yeah.
clams. What are you hungry? Did you just have clams for dinner or something like that?
No, I actually just watched Aliens, and inside the eggs that hatch, they put clams in there
Why?
because they're like slimy and like they put oysters in clams and stuff to sort of make it like really gooey and disgusting.
So I'm dying from matachlorobioclams and I have to
Yeah,
give up
so
an appendage to lose.
that's all right. So like it's like part of your body, whatever appendage, is starting to sort of get slimy and jelly-like, and will basically infect the rest of your body. So you got to chop it off.
Did I catch it early or is it late where I have to lose like a good portion of my body?
You caught it early, but it's
Oh,
so fast spreading that you have a day to decide.
fuck. Um, can it be like a toe or does it have to be like a foot? Like, what's the size ratio that I have to fix?
See, I'm completely cool with just like a toe or a finger or like an ear
An
or
ear.
eyelid.
Well, I have now, I don't know if you know this. I'm not a podcaster anymore. I'm actually a painter. So I could probably lose an ear. It would help out my sales. Did you
And you
see the
just like
painting I sent
paint.
you?
Yeah.
I was fucking
Holy
watching Bob.
shit.
I've never painted. I was watching Bob Ross and I was like, it can't be this fucking easy. And then I start painting. And like, this is why I don't paint. And this is why I don't do anything that is a long tasking process besides talking, because I can always make the topic new. When I'm doing something, the same thing for too long, I end up wanting to give up fucking halfway. And then when I'm finished with it, I feel like, oh my God, like I'm successful. This is amazing. But I painted and then I just fucking like left and I went upstairs and I was getting like from people in like my family were just like, this is really fucking good. I was like, don't fucking lie to me. Bob Ross lied to me. So I tweeted at his son. I said, your dad lied to me.
What the hell? His son,
He made
like
it
just
look so
existing.
easy.
Far out, man. That Bob Ross. Like, if Bob Ross was the pedophile in the van, I would jump in
No.
that fucking van.
Okay. You changed it. I thought you were going to insult him. I'm like, hang on a second. That man did the best thing ever. He targeted younger audiences and did all this stuff. And now everyone older now loves him, just like we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah. One of his happy little mistakes.
But I
Or
think
no, that shit was on purpose.
I about to say with the painting though, I really like the after effect. I liked it. I definitely want to try it again. But it if you saw what I saw when I created that, then you probably would be like, this is a horrendous piece of shit. Cause like what I saw was in my dream. It's always what I dream about is that one location with the hills and then the sun that looks like that, and then the pink clouds, because it looks like Trix yogurt. Ever since I was a little kid, I was like, the sky looks like Trix yogurt because it's pink, yellow, and all these like the swirl when you swirl the Trix yogurt in the yogurt container. No,
No, we don't get that here in Australia
wow, you guys are missing
at
out.
all. Yeah, we don't get all good shit.
Yeah, I'm simple with stuff though. Like if somebody was going to ask me if you could have $1 million or just like, no, if someone had asked me what's my heaven scenario, it's always drinking a milkshake in a diner. Or I've started to look over like maybe eating a peanut butter jelly sandwich in front of like the Lincoln Memorial with that giant pond with the giant statue of like a point, like a needle. and just sit there in
Yeah.
front of the lake and just have someone come up and just have a deep chat with like a Rob Lowe. I would chat with Rob Lowe and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but smooth peanut butter, not crunchy, would mess up my conversation skills.
I think you could still roll with crunchy peanut butter,
Now you get one of those
especially with Rob.
peanuts.
If true, and then like Rob Lowe has a chance of like getting peanut in his face because like the shrapnel, because you might laugh at something and then like,
Take his eye out.
yeah. Can you imagine?
That'd be
Fuck.
horrible. What's a horrible way?
The
What's the
first and last time.
hold on? What's have you ever had like a horrible like interaction with someone where you just met them for the first time, but it's everything has gone so horribly wrong, you know that you're never going to be able to talk to this person ever again?
Yeah, I was set up on this date with the birthday girl, and it was at her birthday party. So I go, and like I'm awkward as it is. So we don't have any common ground. We more talk about like, oh, it's such a nice night. Yeah, it was a good turnout, and like it was just awkward. Um, and like this was right after high school, so like the thinking was, oh, we'd like date. Nah, it never happened. And I followed that party right to the end at another nightclub, and then I just went, fuck this. I'm out of here. It's so tiring.
Do you think that was your fault, or do you think the conversation there was just no energy in the flow? Because even though like someone might be really hot, I go, but can I have a conversation with this person? Because that's like the main thing. I don't want to always be reached. Like I had an ex that whenever I would talk, she would just be silent, and I would say jokes like I usually do, and then she just wouldn't laugh, and then she'd be like, "That was funny," and I'm like, fucking laugh if it's funny. Laugh for the love of God. Let me hear that. I don't care if you have the worst witch cackle in the world, but like when you're looking at someone and they're like, "Ha, that's funny." I'm like, "Where your eyebrows didn't? Are you Botoxed?" Like that. There's another thing right there. Why are we not? We should not trust news anchors because most of those people have it's all fake. They're Botoxed up. Half of those people fucking support injecting a needle into your fucking face to make it so fucking plastic-sealed shut that a duck's ass couldn't spit out water. Is that that's I've always heard my grandpa say that. Is it as tight as a duck's ass? I'm like, what? I don't know if that's the is that the meta is that the catchphrase? What is it? I don't even know what you would call that. A fucking one-liner?
Yeah, I think that's a thing. It has to be because the duck will sit in the water, so his ass has got to be like watertight.
I'll have one thing that you guys don't have in Australia, and that's Google. Let me just Google that one real quick.
Must be why Marlon Brando fucked ducks.
Ducks ass reference. This is gonna put me on a fucking watch list. It's just giving me hairdressers.
Okay.
Oh,
There's a
as
hairdresser called the duck's ass.
it's called the phrase finder. And then this one says, as tight as a duck's arse. Where did the expression as tight as a duck's arse come from? As nobody else has had a go at this one, I'll start things off, but I'm not going to take this very far. Hopefully others will. This one was one of my father's set phrases as he was born in 1913. It's been around for a while then. A couple of sites on the web describe it as an Australian slang. But isn't it an Australian slang?
To be honest, it's the first time that I've heard anyone say it.
It talks about the tight muscles of a duck's ass, meaning that nothing can get through. But use it in a goddamn sentence then. This episode's not going to get me any guests either. Good God.
Far out. Did you hear about Marlon Brando like messing around with ducks?
What? It's all right. Hold on a second. Is this like fake news? Because I need to know I don't know what's real anymore. When someone just tells me something, I never take anything at face value. They're like, you're on fire. I'm like, no. When we got to get back also after you tell me this, we have to get back to what appendage would I lose? Because I think I figured it out.
I yeah, so a friend of mine told me, so it might be hearsay, that Marlon Brando used to copulate with ducks. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe the duck's ass thing was like,
You know how I know I'm a good human being?
why?
Because my mind went, well, before we judge, what kind of duck?
It must have been a very good-looking duck.
Because if you're fucking a swan or something of that violent nature, then I have respect for you because that's a dangerous act.
Hey, that swan could do the biggest neck reach around and just rip your balls off if you even tried anything like that. I would not fuck with a swan.
What's one animal you would not fuck, but what's one animal that you would fight?
That I would fight. Jesus.
You don't have to choose the methed up bear we were talking about in the beginning.
Oh, hell no.
I
The
think I'd
bear would
try my
swat my
hand at it.
fucking head off.
I'd try my hand at it.
Um, Jesus. I don't know. I'm scared by most animals. There's always something about some animal that just scares the fuck out of me, even down to like a hamster.
I get scared of dogs more now because I've heard way too many accounts of someone like getting like there's an old story. I don't know if it ever transpired over to Australia, but a woman was sleeping on like a couch and she had a pit bull on like her lap and the pit bull bit her face and took her nose off and like part of her jaw. And like my uncle breeds pit bulls and I can tell you they have maybe some violent tendencies for sure, but there has to be something else going on like that is called like there had to be something wrong with that specific dog, but it's like there's few animals I think that have been stigmatized as such where like people like foxes for instance like if the reason why I asked about koala bears, well if the koala bears are pets in Australia I didn't think foxes were pets, but now I'm seeing way too many videos of someone having like a pet fox. I'm like, don't they all have fucking rabies? And no, people have just foxes as domesticated foxes now.
Holy shit. That's fucking weird. And I've seen foxes a lot lately. So when I'm driving and stuff like that, one will just dart across the road, or like I'll see it just like staring at the road as I drive past. Seen it in some movies lately.
A fox in the movies?
Yeah. I watched this movie called The Green Knight, and a fox is one of the characters in there.
Huh.
There's also the Fox and the Hound, the Disney one.
Hmm.
I know.
I don't. I can't recall ever seeing animals in movies, but I think I mostly watch like horrendous conspiracy documentaries, or like, yeah, everything I really watch involves like aliens or comedy specials, or I don't think I really watch TV anymore, to be 100% honest with you. I'm mostly watching Facebook
TV.
videos of like people getting hit by trains. It's fucking fascinating.
See, I can't watch that shit ever.
You don't see any blood. You
Like,
just
so,
see like a person's car get slammed by a fucking train.
like my missus goes like right before we go to sleep. Like, oh, did you hear about this kid that just got taken? And like, I immediately go from fuck, I'm tired to now my brain just won't let me sleep.
What do you
I'm like,
first what conclusion do you jump first to with the kid?
well, it's more like this could happen to one of my kids, and
Yeah.
it freaks the fuck out of me.
That's why you got to have them on a
So then,
leash.
like, just attach to me until they're 16.
Why 16?
I don't know. 16 seems a lot safer than 6.
At that point, if they get kidnapped, it's on them, right?
Yeah, true. Actually, that's right.
You never hear stories about like a 30-year-old being kidnapped.
Yeah.
Unless we
No, you
talk
don't actually.
unless we talk about like murder usually is involved, but usually you never hear of like the 30-year-old guy got into the dude's van and then they went off somewhere and now he's missing. Like I never see a 30-year-old on a milk carton. I always see someone like who's below the age of 10 in a fucking on a back of a milk carton. Who's advertising on milk? How many people drink milk in America?
I've never seen a milk anything with a missing like notice on it
It was
ever.
it was big back in the day because advertisements weren't like how it's now. Like if you're going to see something about a missing person, usually everyone gets a fucking Amber Alert on their phone. But like
Yep.
I'm now kind of counterdicting myself. Is that contradicting or counterdicting? Yes, that's what it is.
Counterdicking.
Um,
That's
but
how I order my food.
th- during like the hurricanes and the storms that happen, whenever like a natural disaster happens or whenever some type of giant shutdown of something goes, milk, I think at one point, I think it was like we had a really bad hurricane like a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 5 years ago or something. We had a big hurricane that happened and milk was $180 a gallon
What the fuck?
because people bought the shit out of it. When we had a recent storm that just happened, not the Ida one that just passed, but there was one before that where there was never any threat of like you need to prep now. But there's a
Yep.
dude when I was at self checkout, he had over 80 gallons of milk just sitting in his shopping cart. He had 3 of them and he had them all lined up, just scanning each and every one. I'm like, is there something wrong with the dairy? And he goes, oh, I'm just prepping. I'm like, for what? He goes, because you can sell these like hotcakes. And I was like, only time I can ever think of using milk is like cereal. But even then, people are like, I go for the non-organic, it's not really milk. It's actually just a powder that you think it's milk and then you eat it. It doesn't taste like it, but if you trick your brain, you can make it taste like milk.
I hate that shit, man. I don't even drink soy milk.
Do you just hate milk in general?
Nah, I like milk. I like milk, but I hate the fake milk shit.
It's
Or like when you
illegal to
get the
sell
coffee
raw milk,
creamer.
isn't it?
Huh?
I think it's illegal to sell raw milk.
Like straight from the cow, unpasteurized.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a
But how
second.
come in movies?
States may adopt their own laws on raw milk sales. However, at the federal level, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration bans the interstate sale or distribution of raw milk. Drinking or otherwise consuming raw milk is legal in all 50 states. So you can't just sell it. Like you can't have old Bessie lined up with a fucking like how why were kids? Oh my God. Kids were selling lemonade on the street back in the day. So you can't do that with milk. So you can't just have like a cow lined up. Be like, would you like some fresh milk? Sure. And even some states they say you can't sell, no state can sell them in a retail stores raw milk, but on farm sales, you can sell raw milk depending on what state you're in. And so far, there's only 15 out of the 50 that you can do that to.
See, I've never had raw milk, like milk straight from the cow. Have you ever had like straight from the cow milk?
Like, have I ever bent down on a farm and tried to suckle at the
Yeah.
tit of a nice cow?
Yeah.
No, because cows are weird to me. They don't have eyebrows.
That'd add too much personality to that face. Can you imagine killing a cow with eyebrows?
That's the only reason
Fucking
why.
cry your eyes out.
That's the only reason why we choose animals to consume and which ones are domesticated is the eyebrows.
I wonder if that's what they do. Like they want someone to retire in like the sort of the abattoir or something like that. So they put eyebrows on the cow. The guy just resigns the next day. I can't do it anymore.
Every time it looks at me with those fucking eyes, and then it looks like it's astonished every time I kill it.
Just send in 10 cows with eyebrows. Fuck.
But
I've had breast milk before.
is it good?
It's fruity. Weirdly.
What are we talking?
And
Okay, hold on. Explain the situation to me, because I think like all first thing that comes into my mind is like your wife is sleeping, and then you just go like, "Well, it's there."
it's my time to shine. Um, well, when you heat up a bottle to check the temperature,
Gotta see
like you
what the
squeeze a
hype's
little bit
about,
in
and
your
you
mouth.
fucking rip onto it.
One for you, one for me. Yeah. So when you heat up a bottle, like to check the temperature, you squeeze a little bit in your mouth to see if it's like just way too hot. So that's what I did.
You just don't want to pour a
Um,
little bit on your arm and test? You went the straight diet
See,
to
I didn't.
stick it in my mouth?
Yeah, I don't stick the teat in my mouth. It's just like you just squeeze the teat and it just shoots in your face. So here's the other weird thing though. So I did that, right? And then my brother-in-law went, that's my partner's breast milk. And I was like, it wasn't my missus' breast milk. I just naturally did it out of reflex.
Did you test
So I
does it taste like your partner's breast milk?
know what, like I heated a bottle up and it was a bottle for my niece. And it ended up being my brother-in-law's partner, like her breast milk,
I know.
not my missus's breast milk.
Did it taste the same as your partner's though?
I cannot remember. I think tried to scrub it so far out of my, like,
Yeah, that's something
memory.
you got to forget, or you're gonna have every awkward conversation possible, like where you just don't want to.
Yeah.
You're not getting a Christmas card anymore after that.
Yeah, that's freaky shit. Because then my missus will ask me, so did it taste better than mine? Something like that. I'd be like, please don't put me in this position.
Yeah. I don't know what your diet is, but you need to add some fruits.
It does taste fruity though. Like it tastes like it's just like nutrient rich nectar. And it's a different viscosity, different color, everything. It's just I would never drink it with my coffee.
Yeah, there. That reminds me. There's you know, Bad Grandpa, the Jackass version where Johnny Knoxville dressed up as an old guy.
Yeah.
So there's a deleted scenes to it, and there's the scene where they had the guy dressed up as an old lady as well too. And Steve would go, "Honey, what are you doing here at this diner?" And they would just have a random person sitting there, and she'd be like, "Well, I'm doing non-organic breast milk." And then she would take her nipple and squeeze it, and it had like milk in it. It was a fake tit, obviously, but it was squirting to people's coffee. And then like the one kid's just sitting there like stoned out of his mind, like I don't know where to fucking go. Am I in a trip right now? Whenever I come across a pothead, that's always the scenario where I'm like, how did you get that? Why didn't you just leave? And I was like, I didn't think about it. It's like, yeah, because when you're fucking high, you're just focused on like breathing and then also being in the moment. Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what appendage are you losing?
Oh shit, we're back to that. Damn it, I forgot it too. I don't know because I don't think I could lose a finger. I don't think I probably a toe to be 100% honest with you, but I got to make sure. See, but here's how life works is that if you're going to lose a toe, it's never a toe that's going to make your life still normal. It's always going to be something that's eventually going to make you fucking not walk properly. And I don't know because I like to move around and shit too. Hmm. What would you lose?
I would probably lose like this finger. Like, the
The
wedding
ring
finger,
finger?
but on the right hand.
So then you can't get married. I get it.
But like on the other, isn't it your left hand? That's your wedding finger?
I think it can be either because I think it's the whole
Oh.
point of the wedding ring finger is because that one finger has a vein that links directly apparently to your heart, which is why they do it.
Ah. So how
If
did
you
they figure that shit out back in the day?
I think it's a misinformation thing. I don't
I
trust
think so too.
if you look at when that was created, I guarantee to you that was created around the same time they were fucking sticking a board to people's noses after a surgery to be able to get so like back a lot of people don't know this, but like syphilis, for instance. The reason why white wigs were so popular during the Victorian era was because people had syphilis, where they had these lesions that were coming on their heads. And somehow we just got it misconstrued through all the years where it means you're rich. Because most rich people
Yeah.
had syphilis because they were banging a lot. So your nose would fall off with syphilis. And what they would do is they would take your thumb or they would take a big toe and they would stick it on where your nose is to make you a new nose. And then to fix it, they would take a brace and they would have your elbow, like your inner part of your arm, like if you were going to sneeze, and they'd have it hold up your nose and they would strap like a cast over that in this position. So you look like you're basically just giving like the trucker, like, hey, right on, like pull the horn type thing. They would have that. But
Yeah.
if you look up pictures, there's just pictures of people with their bicep holding their nose together, because you had to keep it like that for like a week, because it would have to keep the make sure the cells. It's really weird when you cut your arm or something. If you cut your arm, band-aids help heal it faster. It's not because it's
Yep.
disinfectant or stops dirt from getting in there. It's because it helps keep the wound closed, and then it stops the
Yep.
blood from going, and then your cells regenerate faster when the tissue's already brought closer together. See, it's like a spider web. A spider web, if it's going from a post that's 5 feet apart to a post that's 10 feet apart, it's got more ground to cover. It's going to be a bigger web, but it's got more ground to cover. So it's going to take a lot longer to do so. It's like that with your skin cells. If you like, I always slice my finger when I'm fucking making microwavable rice, because I'm too fucking, every time I rip the bag, it never rips properly. It's always like it rips halfway down. I'm like, I still got to fucking I take a knife and cut it, and then my finger is always on the other side. And I don't know why I don't just move my finger, but I'm like, I'm hungry and I want to slice that son of a bitch. And then, yeah, I don't know. I have issues with a lot of microwavable things.
You don't just boil your rice?
If I knew how to, I would.
You don't know how to boil rice?
I had nobody to teach me how to use the oven, so I just never even worried about it. I can use the stove top, but then when it comes to boiling water, I'm like, this is a 35-minute fucking process. I need it done in 90 seconds. And that's what my microwave goes up to when I hit the minute plus.
Nice. Holy shit.
It's
To be honest, I only
it's like
learned how to cook when I had kids.
about to say,
So,
it's like
like,
tying your shoes. There's a large percentage of the pot. There's a fucking, I just watched a video before we got into the Zoom call of a better way to tie your shoes to make your laces customizable. Not like back in the day, customizable laces was like, hey, I got black shoes, and instead of the normal black laces they gave me, I switched them out with red laces. So I'm edgy. And you're like, okay, well, now this person took a pencil, stuck it all the way before they put the laces in, and then took the laces, they would put them in one side, and they would wrap it around the pencil before they would connect it to the other side. They would just connect it back to the same side, and then they laced it through. So like, instead of like being like a normal, like how it's like a crossover pattern, like an X, they just went
yep.
like, they curved in so they look like ovals. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was like a quick video. They did it fast. I guarantee you, if you tried to recreate it on your first time, it's like me with the Bob Ross thing. I thought I was gonna walk downstairs with a fucking cigar in my mouth and be like, I'm about to paint a fucking masterpiece. And then I fucking got down there and I started doing the little paint thing, and I was like, oh, I want to give up already. Because then you're doing it, and then every time I saw an error I made, I was like, fuck, I got to go back over it. Then I go back over it, and then the color would start turning into a brown shit color. And I was like, fuck, I've messed up my painting. And then I get done, and then I took a picture of it and sent it. And then everyone's like, dude, it's really fucking good. I was like, you know what? I bet you I could make like 90 grand off that fucking thing. If someone could take a banana
Good.
and duct tape it to a fucking wall, I could make bank off that.
Yeah, man. If your next couple of pictures are absolute fire, right? You knock it out the park. It's fucking unique, nothing like it in the world. People will go back and be like, this was his first piece of art. $1 billion. For sure. You could have a piece of shit in like a fucking like stool sample container and people would buy it because that's your first
I
it's a
love
piece of you.
I love how you think, because our brains went completely different rabbit hole or different like routes. Because you're like, this is his first painting. So then it makes you think that I excelled as a painter, and then I became this professional artist, when I just thought this is his painting before he chopped his dick off and killed himself.
Before he got biomatter clam chowder.
I have a Starry Night painting in my fucking studio that I look at a lot when I'm talking, because I don't know what about it. It just helps, that vision and that type of thing helps my mind expand out. It sounds stupid as hell. But when I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's a very good painting, but I've seen way better paintings before. Like Bob Ross paintings are really good. They're more, I like more, everyone likes the abstract shit. And I like more of the realistic stuff. Like there's was it impressionism or pointism or something like that, where it just looks like it's little tiny paintbrush dabs, but when you see it from like a back view, it looks
Mm,
fucking like a picture. Like there's old
mm.
paintings from like 1870 something or 1910, before cameras were invented, and they look like fucking actual photographs, and they're just paintings, but it's all dot, it's all impressionism. So with the Starry Night painting, I like it because it's abstract and it's funky. But I think the only reason he really got super popular, everyone knows him today, is because he was in an like that. A lot of people don't know about Starry Night was made out of his insane asylum room. It was his view from his window. So a lot
Jesus.
a lot of people don't know that. Whenever you say Vincent Van Gogh, people go, "That's the guy who chopped his fucking ear off." And it's like, yeah. So how would you want to be remembered? Are you going to be remembered in this episode from the guy that drank another partner's breast milk? Or are you going to be the guy that hit a koala with his car? Either way, it's not coming off good.
Fuck. I did not know that about Van Gogh.
I'm pretty cultured.
Yeah, I noticed. But like, I understand that like the first step is usually a misstep, and every next step after that is like one out of progress. I say don't give up.
See, I think
Fuck the
life.
naysayers.
I like your thinking, but then my brain goes, "What happens if there's no more steps there and you end up falling off the fucking cliff?"
And let the
My
chips fall where they may.
okay, you're an optimistical thinker. I'm more pessimistic in my thinking. I'm more optimistic when it comes to other people's lives. Like if someone offers me advice of like what I should do, I was like, dude, you're so talented, you need to do this. And then when it comes to my own life, I'm like, I'm a fucking trash bag of society.
Yeah, but like, if you knew everything about painting, if you watched every episode of Bob Ross, you had like executed the paintings exactly the same way, and then you tried it, you know what I mean? Knowing everything about painting, and then it turned out and you just drew like a stick figure or something like that, then like, I expect people to come out like James Brown, put the cape over you and say, like, just stay down. Don't jump up again. Don't even try to paint the next photo
Mm.
or the next picture.
Don't even fucking touching. Don't even think about touching a fucking paintbrush for the rest of your life.
Don't even paint your house.
I think it's like when I because I after watching the Bob Ross documentary, I had to look at Steve Ross and see his whole back catalog where he actually teaches painting classes and he kind of does his own
Yeah.
thing. His art is just as talented as his dad. But when I'm listening to him talk to people, like keep it up, keep going, keep going. I'm like, that's why I could never be a teacher. Cause like I'm very, very like helpful for my friends and like I've helped people start podcast shows and help them develop who they are as like a
Yeah.
podcaster. But it's like when it comes to something like as artistic as that, I feel like a lot of these things is like either you got it or you don't. Like I feel like for my whole entire life, I've just been this person that has been above average in a lot of things. But if you stick enough to it, then you end up developing better than me because I've always just been a little bit of like when you're born, I think like if there is a heaven, which I don't know about, but before you get sent down into this person that you're going to be, they go, where would you like to put your attributes? Do you want to be a power lifter? Do you want to be this or do you want to be that? And it's like, well, can I just be like a jack of all trades? And it's like, are you sure? Because then if I limit to you jack of all trades, your growth skill when it comes to anything that you put your mind to isn't going to work like everyone else's. Everyone else has a they usually recommend that you put it in the growth. And I'm always the type of person when they recommend me something, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that because I'll probably end up hating it
Yeah.
because I fucking love Green Lantern. People hate the Green Lantern. I I love a lot of stuff people don't like, and I'm like, I'm the guy that's swimming backwards when the river everyone's flowing with it. I'm the guy swimming backwards, like I'm trying to get back to the beginning. I left my cell phone, and I'm fucking pedaling back.
You're the salmon spawning. Yeah. I get that, but like I think progress is fucking up. Like you gotta fuck up. And you gotta come to peace with fucking up. Fucking up is like, I've made a mistake, but now I'm learning from it. You know what? Fuck you for not liking that. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have the balls to just fuck up, be at peace with it, move on.
But like, there is no definition of like really fucking up when it comes to art, because like, how many times do you see something you're like, that's not really like the best painting, but then someone else is like, I'll paint. There was a guy that sold an invisible statue. There was just nothing fucking there for like 80 grand. And I'm like, am I mad at that? Or am I like good on him for figuring out the fucking like the route around behind this whole entire thing? And I'm like, there's gonna be somebody out there that has so much money they don't because I think eventually like we can't me and you cannot physically conjure up the idea of what $1 billion looks like. We can probably get close to maybe a definition of what $1 million would be like, but even then, it's probably still more. But
Mm.
I think that's what's going to happen with the rest of the world is eventually there's just going to be generations that when they say $1 million, they go, oh yeah, it's a 1,000,000,000. And it's like, well, actually, this is what $1 million looks like. It's like, I haven't seen cash forever. Like, we're not going to have, it's not going to be cash anymore. It's going to be fucking ones and zeros. And that scares me even more. Like with getting a YouTube video taken down and then reposted back up, I was like, damn it, who could do that to your bank account where they just go into your bank account and then make it zero? And you're like, fuck. I don't have anything. In the 1920s, my great grandfather, when we were cleaning out his apartment after he passed away, we were finding holes in the walls, in the floorboards, where just money was just stashed. And it was because he was raised in the 20s where there was nothing. So you saved everything. You fucking hit it. That's like when, if you ever have an older parent that's like from back then or older grandparent, just search the fucking house, like rip up the floorboards, do whatever it takes, because you're going to find like hidden treasures all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, with my grandmother, it was handbags. So
All over the
every handbag had like a pack of cigarettes in there
place.
because she didn't know where she was going to be. If you searched the sides of the couch, you'd find smokes in there as well.
That's what we call a prepper.
Yeah,
Do you want to be with the
and I
person
loved
that
her
doesn't?
for it.
If I say, do you want to be with the person that never prepares? Do you want to be with the person that always prepares?
Always prepares. My missus is a prepper. So she'll look ahead and then be like, "Oh, we need to do this for Christmas." And I'm like, "It's July." She's like, "Yeah, let's start thinking about it."
I had a 10 pound, or was it a 1.5 pound bag of Sour Patch Kids in my car at one point when I was like when I was always driving around, because you'd be like driving around and then you get hungry and you're like, oh, I have fucking, you just grab a couple Sour Patch Kids and toss them in your mouth. And I'm like, yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. It's like in your little middle console, you open it up and there's like a bag of Doritos in there. You're like, huh, they're stale as shit, but damn it if I'm not hungry. And you keep fucking going back for it.
Hell yeah, man. I do that constantly and I always go, "Thanks, old me." Well,
Oh,
thanks, past me.
that's what I do.
Like Bill and
I
Ted.
Whenever I have an issue going on that I need to worry about, or like you got to make sure this is done by this time, I always say, well, that's a future Robbie problem. And then I'm in that future Robbie scenario where I'm like, fuck, past me really screwed me over on this one.
Man, like everything that we're like thinking and doing is like opposites.
Yeah, you're thanking
Because
yourself.
I'm
I'm
like
more critical of myself. Like, you piece of shit.
yeah, you're just caning yourself.
I think that's what you have to do with life. If you don't hit yourself in the knees and take yourself out of every bus corner possible. You've made me revalue my life, Rob. I appreciate you for that. See, our episodes can be revaluation of our life.
That's what motivation is, though.
No,
Like it's never just like,
motivation is what you did, where you sent me a message like, hey, loving the fucking episodes. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Because I just got told someone won't do my show because of how fucking horrible it was. Not that like that it was a bad episode, but it was just too comedic for their preferences. Where I'm like, what type of comedy would you prefer? I like a Chaplin's comedy. What, the silent films where nobody fucking talks?
it's the wrong format, baby.
Yeah, you're on the wrong show. This is all about conversation.
Yeah. But people have like an idea of how their personality will fit with different people as well. Some people already write people off and then just say, "Hey, like, I wouldn't get along with them anyway." Well, how the fuck do you know? Have you met this person?
Well, there are certain types of, like, I have a close friend who like I was helping him make his show the other day, and he tells me, he goes, yeah, it's a good idea. I like the creativeness behind it because I could actually do something with my show. And I'm like, you don't even have a show. What are you talking about? And he goes, well, you have like a good personality and all, but I have more of one that could be broadcasted and be on these top hit shows. And I'm like, yeah, that's like an insult in the way you're saying I don't have like a personality for it. He goes, no, it's not, your personality is not bad. It's just mine's more. And I get what he's saying. His voice, like is kind of like what I've tried. I'm sorry and I apologize for it, but during this episode, I have cut you off a few times. I think it's possibly with the delay that's going on as well too. But
Yeah.
his voice, for instance, is like whenever it's just loud, it's a radio voice, it's like all up in
Mm.
your face. And it's like, oh yeah, if you try and get a conversation with that guy, you're gonna be like, hey man, where do you want to go to I'd love to go to Denny's. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man. What about Waffle House? No, everybody gets into a fight at a Waffle House.
I think every episode that we've like had together, we've mentioned Denny's.
Well, Waffle House was just trending on Twitter. I thought it was because of the new movie with John Cena, Vacation Friends, because they always eat at a Waffle House. But no, it was apparently there was like a bunch of memes where it's like to work at Wendy's or not work at Wendy's, to work at Waffle House, you need to know how to fight. And there's just well, that's what happens at Denny's at 2 o'clock in the morning. Is like it's like Anchorman where he's like at a Denny's or a Waffle House and he's smoking a cigarette. I don't know what it is about suicide, but it really makes you hungry. And it's like that's fucking Denny's for you, or a Wendy's at like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like a breakfast or lunch or whatever the hell you want to eat. Eventually, they're just gonna have a sugar cube stand where they're like, there's a fucking not sugar cube, a salt lick. They're just gonna have a salt lick, like a trough for you just to lick because people are gonna be like, I'm hungry, and it's like licking a oh, this is some tasty salt.
But it's gonna have to be like one lick, and then they peel away that layer of salt with COVID. Gotta be COVID safe.
COVID safe. I wonder how many buffets closed down during this whole pandemic.
All of them. Like they had sneeze guards before. Can you imagine what they're gonna have now? You're just gonna have like, the radioactive hands that you put through into the gloves and then dish your food up and then move your plate along. And then it just shits your plate out at the end.
That was the best part about Pizza Hut was the fucking sneeze guard on the salad bar. They're like, we Jim, can I speak to you? What's up, Johnny? I'm the general supervisor. Jim, what can I help you with today? You got any things you want to add? Maybe a suggestion box? Well, Jim, I've been working for you probably for about 3 years now, and we've always had this luxurious salad bar for people that want to eat a salad, even though they're coming to a place named fucking Pizza Hut. And you're like, yeah, it's a little strange how people want to eat healthy at a place designed to make you feel like a piece of shit. Well, I've noticed the salad bar doesn't have a sneeze guard, and I'm seeing a lot of people here who haven't had the best healthy lifestyle, but they want to decide to eat a salad today, and they're sweating on the salad where people look at it like it's a new form of dressing. I'm curious, maybe we should put a guard up. You know what? You're a critical thinker. Next day, fucking Pizza Hut's closed down.
Pizza Hut had the best dine-in experience ever. No
Was
one
more
ever
family.
does. Yeah, yeah. Family glasses, like glass cups, fucking like pizza bar, salad bar, dessert bar. No one does that shit anymore. It was a triple threat.
It's like when I go to a buffet, you can get any food you want. Even there's some crazy people that are like, I'm going to start off with dessert and then work my way up. And it's like, what? But for me, I always, even if I go to a buffet, I just look at all the variety of food and pick which one first piques my curiosity. Like it's always the pizza, but then I look over and I see the sushi. Then I just get sushi. Like I only go to buffets to get unlimited California rolls because my top eating in one sitting is 168 California rolls.
Where did you fit it?
I ate it.
Yeah, but were you like eating it on the toilet or something? Like that's a lot of California
Dude,
rolls.
I didn't feel good afterwards, but I fucking loved every minute of it.
Do you go there and you just like bring a wheelchair with you and this is for after the show.
Well, there's like when people put up the food challenges of like a 10-foot pizza, I'm like, I could eat that in 1 second. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't think people understand. Like when you look at competitive eaters, there are a lot of them, besides like the common ones that we see that are huge, they're really fucking skinny. And you're like, where do you put it?
Yeah.
It's like there are people like myself that are thin, but they could eat a shit ton of food. Like I used to eat a bag of Doritos in one sitting. Like I thought that was how you did chips, was that you just eat it in one sitting.
Same. No, I completely get that concept.
Then they're like, people
And
all have the idea that it's one sitting, make the bag smaller. I think this is all instilled upon us because I'm going to guess here. I'm going to toss a random thing out. I bet if we look through your childhood, it was always you have to eat everything on your plate. Am I right?
mhm,
That's
yeah,
why everyone now eats such large portions and why every portion is becoming smaller is because we've been adjusted to eat everything on your plate and it's not healthy that way. There's no saving it. And that's kind of the thing is because we live in all the kids that are growing up now are like, well, if you're full, you're full. And people go, well, that's not how it works. You have to sit and eat and you'll stay here all night until you eat your fucking food. That's
yeah,
because the older generations that taught us were the ones that were teaching you like you have to cherish everything that you got, so eat everything on your plate.
yeah. Because you don't know when you're gonna eat again.
And it led to world obesity.
And here we are,
10
far out.
years later.
And like that's how I started with my son as well. I was like, you have to eat everything. You're not leaving here until you finish all of it. And he was like, but I'm full. I was like, I don't care. This is what my mom told me.
Better
But
throw it
now
up
I'm
and
like,
you'll eat it again.
but now I'm like, well, you know what? It was a good effort. I get out of here.
Get like a participation medal sticking on them.
Yeah.
That's what I think. See, because I don't know, because if we go back to the buffet thing, we have a place in America called Golden Corral. Like, what's more insulting than basically labeling every customer that goes to your place a fucking animal because they're just giant herd of cattle walking into your restaurant? And then we have a place called Dress Barn, like Golden Corral. You get too big, you can go over and get a new shirt at the Dress Barn. I'm like, wow, they really are just being fucking obvious with it now.
Far out. With barn door, like, openings is double wide and everything. We've got a clothing store here called Johnny Biggs that specializes in plus size men. It's like, wow.
Because they can't
I
tell
would,
you that you need to lose weight. They just need to make the clothes bigger for you.
yeah. But I shop in plus size sections because of my dimensions. Like if I buy like a shirt, a long sleeve shirt, it doesn't fit down to my wrist.
Yeah, that's a thing that needs to be highlighted more because I work in the fitness industry and fitness has been a big part of my life. But I think people need to realize like we have this, we see all like the classic body shapes, but everybody's body is like proportionally different. Your fucking spine's different. So your body's going to look different. And I think there needs to be more of like a categorization so people don't walk around like, why don't I have like the Ryan Reynolds tall, lengthy, like muscular body? It's like, well, you're fucking 5'2". Ryan Reynolds is like 6'3". Like your body's not gonna go out like that. It's gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah.
There are some people that are really short and super fucking stocky. That might not necessarily be you. Be happy with what you got, what God gave you, and use it to your benefit. I've seen plenty of fucking people pull ass that's 10 times hotter than them because they have a good personality. They are fucking
Mhm.
something about, there's a person I just saw this morning at my gym. I've seen her boyfriend. She could do 1,000 times better. But I was like, why? She goes, well, he owns a water park and he's fucking funny as shit. I'm like, all right, fair point.
But she did say the water park first, right?
I got probably I'm not gonna call her a gold digger, and I'm not gonna be mad at her if she is. I'd be a stay-at-home dad if I fucking came across a billionaire, a cougar, or a fucking gilf. I would definitely be a fucking stay-at-home dad.
Yeah. All right. You got me. I'm intrigued.
If I offered you right now that your wife would do everything for you, your partner would do everything for you when it comes to work, when it comes to paying the bills, when it comes to doing whatever business or whatever stuff that makes your income, and you had to be a stay-at-home dad where you could do whatever the fuck you want, you can vape wherever you want, you can fucking shoot the shit podcast, do whatever the hell, you can play video games all fucking day as long as you take care of the kid and make sure it doesn't fucking die, you would take it. What are we talking
Yeah,
about here? That's the easiest. Be lazy as shit while someone else does the work. Fuck yes.
it's true. It's very, very true.
Making sure
As
we're on the
long as
same
there
page.
was a connection.
Yeah, as long as there
As
was
long as there was a connection.
one.
Because if there wasn't a connection, how bad is that? Like living day to day.
It's got to be exhausting.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Otherwise, you're going to be saying, "That's so funny."
That's so funny. Oh my God. It gets me. I'm like, well, then laugh, smile, paint a fucking picture.
Oh, man.
Well, Rob, I appreciate you for doing my podcast again. I had to get another episode in with you because I'm trying to get you and Tristan on at the same time. So once we can
Yes.
manage to coordinate that out perfectly.
That'll be something else.
But
That'll be really cool.
where can people find your podcast?
So we're on all streaming sites at the moment. We're on Spreaker, where we host our podcast. We're under Logo Smith Media. You can find a full bevy of different shows and perspectives there. We're on all social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok now. If you like to TikTok round the clock, we're there as well.
I'll make sure I link it all in the description. And is there anything you want to let the people out there know before we wrap up the ending of this episode?
Um, I think fuck up. Make mistakes. Make them big, because you don't know how much longer we got. So, yeah, live life to the fullest.
Well, we're a family show, so I don't appreciate your F bomb, but thank you everybody for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast.